This is Rachel from 7 and All, and today we are going to talk about math mistakes. I am a second-generation homeschooling mom, and one of my passions here on YouTube is to challenge my fellow homeschooling parents to do a really good job with this homeschooling path that we have picked out. And to that end, in this video, I'm going to discuss mistakes that homeschoolers can make in the math education of our children, some mistaken ideas that can shape our math journey. I hope that by addressing these mistakes, I can help to challenge and encourage all of us to pursue better math education for our kids. Number one mistake is assuming that your child will hate math. Guys, guess what? Math is not inherently boring, it is not inherently hard, and no, not every kid hates it, not every adult hates it either. Actually, a lot of kids love math. So especially if you are having the privilege of starting homeschool from the very beginning with your very young children, don't make the mistake of beginning with the assumption of math is gonna be hard, math is gonna be boring, math is gonna not be enjoyable. Don't begin with that assumption. Your assumptions and your perspective on math as a teacher can really transform the math experience, for good or for bad. So to this end, I would recommend choosing a math curriculum that really helps you as the teacher to see the wonder and the delight and the beauty in mathematics. Number two mistake is neglecting to master the facts in the early years. And here I'm talking about addition facts, subtraction facts, multiplication facts. Now for some kids, this can be a very fast, pretty painless process. While for other kids, this is going to be a slower and longer journey that is going to take more work along the way. But in the vast majority of cases, I would say, do not give up on fact memorization. Yes, there will be some learners with specific limitations and specific needs who just simply might not be able to memorize the facts. In these specific cases, you may need to just move on and have them rely on tools like charts. But truly, don't give up on this too soon. Once your child begins to understand the concept of addition and subtraction, once they understand what's going on, once they understand the concept of multiplication, then you can start moving toward building speed, fluency, and immediacy with these facts. Why does this matter? Because memorization leads to speed, and speed is actually crucial for math success as you get into much more complex problem solving. When you are multiplying large numbers, when you're doing long division, and when you're working into much more complex areas, children who don't have their basic facts memorized are going to get bogged down in the simple calculations, and they're going to start missing things because the work is simply too slow that they forget which step they're on in the problem. They can't keep track of where they're at, and they'll start making fundamental errors because they don't have those basic facts memorized. So in the vast majority of cases, it is worth going to the work, the simple work of just memorizing those facts. And it doesn't have to be overcomplicated. Actually, flashcards, people look down on them, but flashcard drilling, don't look down on it. Yeah, maybe it's not fun, but 5 minutes of flashcard drilling a day can bear a lot of fruit. It's 5 minutes. Also, a helpful hint when it comes to mastering facts, one thing that my mom always does is she'll put in 5 flashcards for the facts that are very difficult. So say a child is struggling with 7 times 8. She'll put that problem in 5 times to the stack. So while you're going through the rest of the facts only 1 time each, whichever are those tricky problems that for whatever reason the child just struggles with, she puts those in an extra amount of time so that they get much extra practice with that 1 fact that they're struggling with, or those 3 facts they're struggling with. That's a handy tip. There's also, of course, songs that can help with memorization, videos. We can just practice and practice a little by little. 5 minutes a day will see progress for the vast majority of students. Number 3 mistake is using only one math resource. I get so many questions of, if you were to only use one math curriculum, which one would it be? Or which math curriculum can truly stand on its own with 0 supplementation? Guys, math should be a feast, just like any subject. Would you come over here and ask me, what's the one history book I should read? I don't want to read any more history books. I want to read just one that tells me everything I need to know with no supplementation. Like, we know We know that that will not be the best history education is to just read one book about history. We know that. We know that reading from multiple books is going to give us both a deeper and a wider knowledge of history. Different math resources do different things well. Different explanations connect with different students. So actually combining and pulling in different math resources, different media, can really, really help in making our math experience in our homeschool a feast. Different curriculums do different things well. Different resources have different strengths. So combining resources and truly seeking to offer our children a feast of resources of variety, so that could include typical math curriculum, picture books, videos, practice work, drills, games, all of this combined will provide a richer math education. So try not to limit yourself. Fourth mistake, making your kids independent at math too early at too young of an age. So I also get a lot of questions about which early elementary math curriculum will involve the least amount of effort from the teacher, the least amount of time from the teacher, and can be completed most independently by the student. And I think that this quest is somewhat misguided. Or perhaps they simply don't recognize the significant impact of a knowledgeable teacher teaching math, especially in the early years. For the vast majority of students, you are going to see a big difference between a student being left on their own to teach themselves math versus having a teacher instructing them and teaching them new concepts. Now, the math lessons that you teach don't need to be any longer than they need to be. For a lot of students, hey, 5 minutes goes a long way, 10 minutes goes a long way. Other students will need more of your presence and your interaction in those lessons. And I hear you. You're saying, Rachel, I have 6 kids, 7 kids, 8 kids. How can I teach them all? I hear you. And yes, you are going to have to find some areas and some ages and stages where some of your kids can be independent. When you have many kids, this is a reality. However, I would really argue that math, like phonics instruction, is a bad candidate for independence within the homeschool subject field, especially in these first early years. The impact of good math instruction, the impact of laying a strong foundation will bear fruit for many years. And I come from a large family myself. I'm the oldest of 8 students. And my mom has come on here with videos with me, and she said that when she was in the thick of homeschooling many children who were still at home, she had to come to the tough realization that she couldn't be done with school by 3 p.m. She just couldn't. She had a lot of children that needed a lot from her, and she had to meet those needs. And it was going to take time. Now, us kids were not doing school all day long, but she was, because she had a lot of children who had a lot of needs. They needed her, and this was her work, and she needed time to do her work. So she had to realize that she needed to give herself more time in the day to change her expectation that I'm not going to be done with this big job that I have taken on and committed to. I'm not going to be done with this big job by 3, and that's okay. She did need to extend her schoolwork hours in order to meet everybody's needs. Now, this is just part of big family homeschool life. More work is not a bad thing, but it is a thing. And the final mistake I want to address today is number 5, getting overly caught up in considerations of when will they ever need to know this? When will they ever use this? I have heard it so many times. I've never used the Pythagorean theorem. When will my kids ever need to know this stuff for realistic, everyday, practical life? Now, I actually have a very big problem with this mindset because I believe that academic education should never be limited to just solely what we need to know for practical everyday life. Now, that is probably a topic for a completely separate video, but our minds are capable of being stretched. Big ideas are good and healthy for our brain. Big ideas might not have immediate practical applications in our everyday life, but that does not mean that these big ideas are therefore not valuable. Will there be situations with specific kids with specific needs where you do need to scale back education and focus solely on functional and practical skills because it is going to take so much work to master just those basic functional practical skills? Absolutely, that does happen. But that should not be our default mode with typical students. In general, the purpose of education is not solely practical. It's not solely functional. It is the training and the equipping of the brain on a feast of big ideas. Math is worth learning, not just because of its practical application on our finances or any of the many practical real-life applications that we could list. It is worth learning because the discipline of math and the realm of mathematics is brain food. It is healthy for growing brains. It is helpful in the pursuit of building the brain skills necessary for critical thinking, logical thinking, problem-solving skills, decision-making, and so much more. When you are teaching your child to wrestle with a truly tough math problem, don't take the small view that, oh, this is just a math problem. She'll never need to solve a math problem that's hard in real life. Take the wide view. All of us in all of life will face problems. We'll face tough problems, ones with no easy solution. Math is one small way to begin developing the thinking patterns that will help us in finding solutions to tough problems throughout all of life. All right, I hope that this video gave you some brain food and that you can crunch on these ideas for a little while and think about what you are implementing in your homeschool to give your children truly a rich and living math education. All right, I'll see you next time in the next nerdy homeschool video. Bye.